Alrighty, so news of the week on this Wednesday afternoon. And by the way, remember yesterday I talked about how preseason is about to start in a week time? Well, technically that is a lie because it seems like preseason has officially started. We did see the first MLS matchup in preseason between Minnesota United versus NYCFC played today, which the Loons were able to get a 1-0 win. The Whitecaps also play a preseason game against Hamburg, and unfortunately they lost that one too. But as we get closer into the beginning of the season, we're going to get more preseason game. And, I don't really pay too much attention to these preseason games because, most of these preseason games not only are meaningless, but are just guys that are on the depth chart fighting for jobs and hope to make the team, or potentially guys that are part of the MLS Next Pro affiliates team just getting some minutes, and then if they of course get a good look, maybe they will get more minutes in the MLS Next Pro team, or in a rare cases they could make the first team. But that being said, in terms of first news we're going to talk about, well, it is official. The Josef Martinez transfer saga has officially come to an end. He has signed with Inter Miami, and from all the reports saying that it seems like this is a non-DP contract, and that Atlanta United basically buyed out his contract in order for them to basically release him, and him going to Inter Miami is indeed true. It seems like that is the case, and that Inter Miami, from what the league website said, it said that they are paying a certain percentage for his contract. They didn't say exactly how much percentage it is, or if it's actually the full amount, but either way, this is probably the reason why they were allowed to sign him on a non-DP deal, and that we don't have anybody basically had to talk about what happened a couple of years ago of how they basically did something that was too good to be true in terms of signing a player on a non-DP contract, and basically they got fined now for it. But nevertheless, it's going to be interesting to see how Josef Martinez is going to do well. And one other interesting thing about him, because I don't really want to have to talk about how he will fit with Inter Miami, because I've mentioned it many times before when I talk about this transfer saga that he's been going through, is that there was actually a lot of teams that was interested in joining or in getting Josef Martinez. I mean, I think Nashville was one of the team that was interested. Austin was one of the team that is interested. But in the end, he decided to choose Miami because I think his family is actually living in Miami. And, why would you want to be in Miami instead of Nashville and Austin? I mean, that's not to diss in terms of those cities, but I'm pretty sure anyone would want to play in Miami and get to live in that city compared to what we see in Nashville and Austin. I mean, they have some good music scene there, but it's nothing compared to the party scene that we see in Miami and so forth. Now that I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people from Austin and Nashville fans are going to be in the comment section and probably disliking the video because I just diss on their city. But nevertheless, moving on in terms of the next news. So the Chicago Fire has officially sold John Duran for up to $22 million to Aston Villa. And I gotta say, Chicago, they're quietly having a very I would say very successful offseason in terms of offloading some of their talent and able to cash out on that. Probably even more success than what we see with Montreal, because I know throughout this offseason it's been all talk about Montreal selling some of their best talent for a lot of money. But when you look at the amount that the Chicago Fire has got in terms of the two players that they offload in Gaga Slonina and John Duran, it's actually more than what Montreal got for some of their star players. Like they got 22 million. Well, actually, it's up to 22 million. I think the original price is only at 18 million. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a lot of money, and for a guy like John Duran, who I think there's definitely some potential that he could be a very decent player. I mean, during his short time with the Fire, you can definitely see he is a natural goal scorer, and there's that quality that he can definitely be interest of a lot of team in Europe. And it seems like Aston Villa is one of those team, and they decided to snatch him up for a relatively hefty kind of amount. But whenever it comes to Premier League team, I have a feeling a lot of these Premier League teams will say, well, that's kind of a cheap amount, because whenever players come to our league, we always inflate in terms of the transfer fee and so forth. Speaking of Aston Villa, St. Louis has officially signed Indiana Vassilev from Aston Villa. Again, I'm not going to talk too much into this because we knew this was going to happen. And again, I mentioned before, he is a guy that is pretty much like the he likes to play the Elzinho role, which is a guy that can come off the bench and basically score some big amount of goals in big moment for Inter Miami. But I'm pretty sure he's looking to do more than that. I mean, especially going to St. Louis and going to a club that, not only is a change of scenery, but maybe get some more minutes with the expansion team. We'll see whether or not if that is the case. Now, Orlando City has officially transferred Jake Maroney to St. Patrick Athletics, and Jake Maroney, I know that during his time with Orlando United and Orlando City, he's been always an okay kind of player. He's not something that will blow you away, and that Orlando City, when they acquire him, it was more for depth in terms of the attack. But now, knowing the fact that they don't really need him anymore, I think Maroney realized that he's probably thinking about maybe come back home and be closer with his family and so forth, and that is exactly why he's gonna go to Ireland and join this team that is St. Patrick Athletic. I'm not sure if this team actually plays in the top division. I think they do. I might be mistaken for any Irish fans that basically is watching this video. Now, moving on in the next news, we got the Quakes have signed Tommy Thompson to a new contract extension. Now, this is also another one that I saw coming with the way that there's been reports that Tommy Thompson is going to be coming back to the Quakes, and it's good to see that he is coming back to this team. I mean, I know there's going to be some Quakes fans are not going to be happy about this because Tommy Thompson is is started to really kind of fall down the depth chart and hasn't really got regular minutes because of the fact that he hasn't looked that good for the past couple of years. But he's always a guy that I admire because of the way that he's always going to remember as the first homegrown that the Quakes have ever produced, and not to mention he is a fan favorite. Like he is a guy that has that personality that can bring some good culture in the locker room. Like sometimes you need to have a fun kind of character in the locker room, and I think Tommy Thompson definitely brings into that, even if he's not going to be a guy that I think is going to still use more for depth pieces rather than just being a regular starter like what we saw a couple of years ago. Now, Charlotte FC goalkeeper Christian Kalina have undergo back surgery with about a couple of weeks before the start of the season. So yeah, not ideal for Charlotte to see their starting goalkeeper have to undergo back surgery. But the good news for them is that they do have some good option in terms of the goalkeeping depth chart. I mean, I'm assuming they're gonna probably go with Pablo Cesiaga as the starting goalkeeper, and in some way, this is a chance for Pablo Cesiaga, because I mentioned last year when he decided to go to Charlotte, I thought this was really his opportunity for him to maybe get some starting minutes, because he wasn't getting any starting minutes during his time with LAFC. But then Christian Kalina kind of came in, and we talked about the whole goalkeeping battle between him and Kalina, who's going to be the one that's going to get regular minutes, and it seems like it was Kalina, and he did a relatively good job in terms of that, mostly on the shot stopping department. I mean, I know there are some Charlotte fans that are not really that happy in terms of his distribution, and that's kind of one of his weakness, but he's definitely one of the best shot stopper in this league. So yeah, losing him is going to be a little bit tough, but bringing Pablo Cesiaga, that also is a decent shot stopper, and also some have said that he's definitely better with his goalkeeping distribution than what Kalina is. And again, this is the opportunity for Cesiaga. He's finally got the chance to show that he deserved to be in the starting spot, and who knows, if he actually turns out to be well, he might just be the starting goalkeeper for the rest of the season, and Kalina might have lost his spot. I mean, this is the thing about goalkeepers, like you really want to take advantage of the chance that you had, because unlike other position, goalkeeping position is one position where when you're maybe a second choice goalkeeper, you really want to take advantage of your chance to be a first choice, because if you don't take advantage of it, there may be a case where you probably won't get a chance to do so. So we'll see how Cesiaga is going to do well in that spot. That is if Kalina is not going to be back in time. I mean, I'm assuming he's not going to be back in time. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I know when you undergo back surgery, it does take a couple of weeks or maybe even months to recover that. But moving on, in the next news, there was a report suggesting that Diego Lainez is actually interested to come to MLS. So this was a report from Tom Bogert that said that it seems like it's going to be $2 million that a team's going to have to pay for him per season if he does come to MLS, and because of that, it does go over the threshold, and then he's going to have to come into the league as a designated player, and it's going to be interesting to see which MLS team is going to do so, and especially it seems like it's just going to be a loan deal that is going to be the case if he does come to MLS, because Diego Lainez definitely one of the more talented young Mexican player in their system, and that knowing the fact that if he does come to MLS, I have a feeling probably LA is going to be the destination is going to go, and especially I won't be surprised he go to the Galaxy. I mean him reunited with his teammate Chicharito, or his national teammate Chicharito, that would be a perfect sense. And knowing the fact that the Galaxy have been signing some well-known Mexican player for their past couple of years in their franchise history, I won't be surprised Lainez might be coming to MLS, and that club that's gonna sign him is probably gonna be the LA Galaxy. But that being said, I don't know if they really need to do that, because they already are pretty stacked in terms of the midfield. I guess maybe this is just in case what happened if Ricky Puig decided to move on as soon as maybe even the summer transfer window or next offseason, that at least they have a backup option that Diego Lainez is going to come in and it's going to fill in that same spot that Ricky Puig basically plays in. Now, moving on in the next news. So remember yesterday I talked about how Alexander Callens, there was reports suggesting that he looks like he is going to be coming back to NYCFC. Well, now there's new reports suggesting that might not be the case. He might actually be sold to Girona FC and reunite with his teammate Tati Castellanos there. I mean, I think the City Football Group has a affiliate with Girona FC, because it wouldn't make sense why all of a sudden there's a couple of NYCFC players decided to go to the La Liga team, and that seems like Alexander Callens could be the latest players to do so. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether if he is going to come back or not. And again, I have still heard reports saying that there's other teams that are trying to get him as a free agent. And coming into this offseason, he was definitely one of the hotly kind of free agent in the league, and I'm kind of surprised not a lot of team has been able to get an offer for him, though I think the reason maybe is because it's going to be a hefty amount to get him, and that I don't think any team would want to spend like $2 million general allocation money to get a defender, even if Alexander Callens is considered to be an MLS caliber starting 11 kind of player. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if Callens is going to stay with NYCFC, and if he's not going to stay, that is going to be a bit of a blow in terms of that back line, because him and Cheno, for most part of the times, they were definitely a solid center back partnership in that NYCFC defense. Now, speaking of center back, the Minnesota United is set to sign Swedish center back Michael Markutsi from Swedish second division side, and I believe it's AFC Ekström. That's how you pronounce it. Again, anytime when it's a Swedish club, I'm going to be very, very bad in terms of pronouncing a name, unless it's a well-known Swedish club or even a well-known kind of Scandinavian club. But yeah, this is kind of interesting. I mean, I understand that the Loons desperately need some defensive help. I mean, I mentioned it many times. Like, if there's one thing this team has to address this all season, besides maybe getting another striker, especially with them linking with those two South Korean striker, they need some defensive help. And, we'll see whether this maybe be the answer. I mean, again, signing a second division kind of player from Sweden, I don't know if that's kind of ideal, because I remember the last time that a second division Swedish player or second division Swedish side player that came into the league, his name is Joel Kviberg, and he did not last long with the San Jose Earthquakes, and in some way he was actually pretty bad during his time with the Quakes. So yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work out now, and that especially we'll see whether if he is gonna be good use for the depth for defensive depth, because this is clearly a defensive depth signing, and that if Boxall or Dibasi went down again, like what we saw last season with Dibasi when he went down with an injury last last season. We'll see if he's a better option than what Brent Coleman offered in terms of that defensive area. But moving on, in terms of the next news, and now moving away from some of the signings and also transfer rumors that has happened. Again, there hasn't really been a lot ever since now we're getting pretty close to the preseason. I think we have now started to go past that period where, we haven't get as much or getting past that period where everything just thrown at me in terms of some of the transfer rumors and player signing for their respective team. But the Houston Dynamo have announced that they are going to rename their stadium to Shell Energy Stadium. So yeah, their new stadium name, PMC Field or something like that. That didn't last long. I mean, I think it was only like 2 seasons ago that they were still called BBVA Compass Stadium, and I know a lot of Dynamo fans will still refer to that as their stadium name. But Shell Energy Stadium is not a bad name too, and especially one of the more recognized company that is got their naming rights in terms of an MLS stadium, and I'm assuming they'll probably pay a hefty amount in order to get that. And it also makes sense that, if Shell were going to have their name smack in a stadium in MLS, it's probably going to be from the Houston area because, Houston is always known as the energy capital of the U.S. and a lot of oil refinery and a lot of oil company are based in the Houston area. So yeah, again, I think this is definitely a decent kind of name for a stadium, especially we have seen some stadiums that are just kind of weird and also some names that are just kind of named after health insurance company that we never have heard before. But moving on, in the last news of this news of the week is the January camp that the U.S. men's national team has the roster for the January camp that the U.S. men's national team has unveiled. Now, obviously, with the January camp, it's always known as Cupcake Camp because a lot of these players in the January camp are most likely kind of like second or even third string kind of national team player that maybe will not make it to the main team, and that a lot of these players haven't really got a lot of caps, and most of the time when we see a January camp, it's usually guys that is down in the depth chart of the U.S. men's national team, or guys that are just kind of started to develop to a decent player in MLS and potentially go off to Europe to continue developing their career. So in the case of goalkeepers, we definitely don't see Matt Turner there. We see Roman Salatanos, Sean Johnson, and Gaga Slonina being there. I mean, Slonina has always been a guy that I mentioned before. I think he could be a future number one for this team, especially Matt Turner. I know he is. I think Matt Turner is now in the prime of his career, but by the time when we get to the next World Cup, and especially with the way that we'll see whether if he is going to get minutes with Arsenal. And by the way, one thing I noticed is that a lot of these future U.S. men's national team goalkeepers, they tends to play as second string to a Premier League team. I mean, we saw Gaga Slonina going to Chelsea this off season, and now we have Matt Turner being with Arsenal. But at least Matt Turner is still decent, especially during the time we saw during the World Cup. But it's kind of not ideal. You see a lot of these kind of goalkeepers that have just played second string, and that maybe this is just me thinking that we just miss our generation talent. That is Tim Howard, that is regarded as probably the greatest goalkeeper that this U.S. men's national team has ever had. Now, in terms of defense, we got Jonathan Gomez, Julian Gresso, DeJuan Jones, Aaron Long, Jalen Neal, Sam Rogers, John Token, and Walker Zimmerman. There's at least some recognizable names, including Julian Gresso, now getting he's now a U.S. citizen, eligible to play for the U.S. men's national team, and indeed that is going to be the case. But also love to see DeJuan Jones finally getting an opportunity. He's another guy that I've been wanted for the U.S. to give him a shot because he has done some good thing with the New England Revolution, and here he is getting a chance to be on the national team, albeit it's just going to be a January camp. And in the midfield, you got Paxton Aronson, Kellen Acosta, Aiden Morris, Paxton Palmico, Alan Sonora, and Eric Williamson. Again, some recognizable MLS names, and even former MLS player, and even a potential future player that's going to come to MLS, that is Alan Sonora, because I mentioned before how Montreal is looking to trying to approach him, especially knowing they potentially could be losing Joaquin Torres to the Philadelphia Union. But yeah, that is your midfield trio. Besides, when you look at forward, we got Paul Arriola, Kay Cal, Jesus Ferreira, Matthew Hoppe, Emmanuel Sebi, Brendan Vasquez, and Alejandro Zendez as your forward group. Obviously, Brendan Vasquez is the big name on that. And again, Vasquez, he still says that, he's still kind of a little bit undecided whether he's going to represent the U.S. or representing El Tri. And that, I know a lot of U.S. fans are hoping it's going to be with the U.S. men's national team. And again, this is why I feel like they should have given more of an opportunity in the September roster move. And that he's a guy that I think doing his time with FC Cincinnati, he has shown that he can definitely be the answer in terms of this long ongoing problem that the U.S. still have not figured out, even when the World Cup is over, who is actually going to be the main number 9 for this team. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news? And as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.